7 years ago, I could feel myself figuratively and literally drowning in stress and stuff. Very slowly, my family and I started to declutter the stuff and stress in our lives, and along the way, I ended up falling in love with a new way of life. Today, I'm sharing the 5 mindset phases we went through to get to where we are today and how decluttering our belongings has changed every aspect of our lives. This video is for anyone who's felt the pull to live life a certain way and is maybe looking for the courage to do so. Mindset number 1 was definitely the hardest one for me. In 2018, I had 2 kids under 2 and was preparing to go back to work full time. Stress was at an all-time high. And then once I got back to work, things got even more intense. I was beyond burnout. I could not keep up. I could feel my nervous system working on overdrive every second that I was awake. I felt behind and overstimulated all of the time. And the slightest thing would just put me over the edge. And the tricky part was that the feelings sort of snuck up on me. Like when we were brand new parents and we were sort of just in survival mode, we felt like that was just sort of the way it is for now. But as the kids were slowly getting older, things didn't feel any sort of better. Phase number 1 was essentially me hitting my breaking point, or when I finally accepted that we just couldn't carry on like this anymore. It just wasn't even an option. I couldn't live this life where we were working constantly, felt like I was hardly seeing the kids, and every second of being at home was spent looking after the house and all of the stuff in it. But if we knew we couldn't live like this, then the next step was trying to figure out how we did want to live and what exactly we wanted to change. We tweaked a few things in this stage, including paying off debt and taking, a few days off work when we could to kind of try to reduce that stress load. And one of the practical things I did was I started to reduce the number of items in our home. It felt like this small, tangible action that I could take, which turned out to be surprisingly effective to reduce stress. It started out with a lot of things that we could sell. Like I mentioned, we were paying off debt in this time, so this was the perfect starting point for us. Next was the phase that gave me the first sort of glimmer of hope in a relatively dark time for me. Maybe 6 months or so after we initially started decluttering, I remember having this moment of awareness. It was super subtle, but just this awareness that, wow, I think I feel a little lighter. Like things just seemed a tiny bit less daunting. This second mindset was just slowly the peeling back of stress through decluttering. And this realization of how connected our stuff was to our mental health, our happiness, and our overall well-being. So what did I do with this information? I basically just kept going. I just kept taking little steps that felt true to me and that felt right for our family. And in our house, that meant letting go of anything and everything that wasn't useful or loved. And with each kind of layer that we let go of, I could feel myself feeling less and less burdened. Next up, mindset 3 was a pretty huge realization for me. Many years ago, long before I even knew Scott or had kids, I remember this one random thing my mom said. She was rambling on about the stress of families these days, and she made this offhanded comment about how the expectations for families from when she was a kid compared to how they are now are just so different. When she was a kid, families weren't expected to have, 2 cars and 2 TVs and all this stuff that has sort of just become average now. And the idea that maybe if we sort of change our expectations of what a family really needed, that this might remove some of that pressure. I have no idea why this random comment stuck with me. I was in my 20s and I was single at the time, but nearly 2 decades later, this idea just kept replaying in my mind. The idea that maybe we didn't need everything that I had been telling myself that we needed. Mindset number 3 was the realization of how little we truly needed and how living with less actually felt way easier than spending endless hours trying to work our tails off to afford a bunch of stuff we didn't really need. So how did we apply this to our situation? We started to do little experiments to see how life would change or how it would feel if we decided to live with a little bit less. We started with no spend months where we bought only necessities for 30 days. In 2022, we did a buy nothing new year where we only bought secondhand items for an entire year. And I started to create these draft budgets for our family to see how things would look if we spent a little bit less. Next up was the phase that was definitely the biggest shift. In spring of 2022, after months, maybe years of considering it, I gave my notice at work and started to organize for clients full time. This gave us one key thing: way more flexibility in our schedule, which when we had 2 young kids was a gift straight from heaven. Leaving my job was a major decision for me. I had spent my entire adult life working towards the next degree, the next promotion, the next pay upgrade. I had never in my life considered leaving my corporate office job. I was raised in a household where working hard was pretty much the most important characteristic you could have. And I'd spent the majority of my life following that exact rule. But it was one of those moments in life where something had to give. And no matter how many times I analyzed the situation, this is just what felt right for me and our family. Mindset number 4 was realizing we could work a little bit less and still have a pretty great life. But how did I overcome this feeling of honestly changing my entire life's plan? I just constantly checked in with myself. I did these little mini pauses and reflections to make sure, okay, am I doing the right thing? Does this feel right for us? In our small town, leaving the job I had was pretty much unheard of. Honestly, for a long time, it felt unbelievable to me too. So sticking to that decision required constant self-reassurance. And 3 years later, I still have to do this regularly. I still have doubts creep in. But after a few years of settling in, the final mindset number 5 has slowly come to the surface, and it is my favorite one. Over the past sort of couple of years, I think, I started to have this random daydream, which sounds kind of morbid, but I started to think that if I died tomorrow, I would die happy and grateful for the last few years that I have had with my family. Like if I only had one more day on earth, I would live it the way we are living now. Mindset number 5 was finding peace in my decisions to live life with a little less stuff and a little less money in order to have more freedom and time with my family. Just feeling grounded and confident about how we are going about our day-to-days, which has truly been a gift. I have no idea how our little life is going to play out in the future. I am very aware that there will be tragedy and loss and things we'll have to tackle, but my goal above all else is to follow my instincts and the needs of our little family rather than what the world makes us think we need. I was actually inspired to make this video because of a video by Becca Bristow. It has nothing to do with decluttering specifically. I think Becca is actually a registered dietitian, but she recently shared how she's moved her schedule to being a full-time stay-at-home mom with her kids and how that change has felt for her and her family. But it doesn't matter whether you're looking for less hustle or maybe you're looking for more meaningful work or moving countries, something that feels maybe off the beaten path of what it feels like everyone else is doing. But no matter what you want for your life, I hope this gives you some inspiration or permission even to just dip your toe into something that feels maybe a little more aligned. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to my story, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.